and welcome to South Central, a TNM podcast where we put the South at the center. I am Dhanya Rajendran, your host, and joining me in the studio is my colleague and the reporting head of the News Minute, Pooja Prasanna.
Hello.
Okay, so as I tell you every week, South Central is a podcast, actually videocast also, right?
What is it called? What are we?
I don't know. Everybody
A
calls
podcast that's also on video.
very strange. Anyway, we are a podcast that drops every Friday. We are on YouTube, on Spotify, Apple, and all other platforms. Do go like us there. We discuss headlines from South India and then deep dive into two topics. I just want to tell you that this is the end of the Press Freedom Month. Thank you to everyone who believes in press freedom and the freedom of journalists like us. But for a moment, I want you to imagine an India without its independent media. Imagine there would not be reporting on the problems of SIR. There would not be any reporting on Adani and monopoly. There would not be reporting on so many things. Imagine an India like that.
Basically, everybody being an extended PR version of the government, whichever government.
But you don't have to imagine India like that because we are there. But we are there only if you support us and take this very seriously. Don't take it just as a line that we give you every week. We really need people to sign in for subscriptions, or it's very difficult to run our newsroom. So become a subscriber. Now, if you don't want to become a subscriber of the News Minute, but you love South Central, then you can contribute to the show. The links are there. There is also a QR code. Please do the deed. And now to Pooja for the headlines.
This week, we start with Tamil Nadu. Ban cow slaughter in Tamil Nadu with immediate effect, orders Madras High Court. The Madras High Court on Wednesday, that is the 27th of May, directed the Tamil Nadu government to impose an immediate ban on cow slaughter across the state by implementing a government order for prohibiting cow slaughter in the interest of milk production and improvement of rural economy.
So I just want to add that there is a lot of confusion about this order by Justices G.R. Swaminathan and V. Lakshmi Narayan. I myself had the doubt and I asked a group of lawyers. So the petitioner actually asked for cow slaughter to be done only in slaughterhouses and not in other places. But I think the court has gone some 5 steps ahead and put a blanket ban on cow and calf slaughter anywhere. They've of course cited the cow slaughter law of Tamil Nadu, which allowed for slaughter with certain certifications. The cow is about 10 years of age, it can't be used for milking, etc., right? But the court has gone above and said that it's a blanket ban. It's now for the Tamil Nadu government to really challenge this in the Supreme Court.
But it's an overreach, isn't it, Tanya? It is not for the court to dictate these things. So that's what lawmakers
there was a GO in between in the 1970s, which also said that there are a lot of cows being killed, slaughtered, therefore there has to be a stop. So the court has mentioned the law and these GOs and then said cow slaughter has to be stopped everywhere, not even in slaughterhouses.
Yeah.
So it is for the Tamil Nadu government now to go to court and get clarity.
Yeah. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Vijay meets Prime Minister Modi in Delhi, raises Vande Mataram Rao during talks. During the meeting, Vijay handed over a detailed petition to PM Modi, raising a series of key Tamil Nadu concerns, including Vande Mataram controversy, the Mekedatu project dispute, defence projects, and the arrest of Tamil Nadu fishermen by the Sri Lankan Navy.
I don't think there's anything wrong with Vijay giving, Chief Minister Vijay giving a petition to Prime Minister Modi. But I feel it a bit odd that, okay, you're telling the Prime Minister, please give me clarity. That's the tone that he's adopting, right? Instead of just saying, I am just going to sing Tamil Thai Vartha, he is actually asking the Prime Minister to give clarity. I found that a bit odd.
Yeah, also I don't think he needs directive from the state governments have a certain, set of rules and mandate which he seems to not understand.
And talking about Vijay, do watch Pooja's Let Me Explain this week, where she talks about the horse trading by his party. Of course, they are calling it as some great ideological alignment happening, but it is horse trading on how it's playing out, what it means legally, morally, etc.
But just a quick point on Mekedatu project dispute. It's interesting because the biggest advocate for Mekedatu is D.K. Shivkumar. He had done a Padayatra a few years ago from Bengaluru to Mekedatu. Now that he is going to become the chief minister, he will push harder. So how will Congress negotiate? That will be interesting. Moving on to Telangana, company behind CBSE evaluation platform says complaints limited to 1 or 2 cases. Dhanya, I want you to take over. Dhanya yesterday, by the way, was down a rabbit hole And
Yeah.
he's very excited to
No, so
investigate.
So this company is called Coemt. It's based out of Hyderabad. Its previous version it was called Globe Arena. So Indulekha, our colleague, interviewed VS and Raju, who's the CEO of this company. He says it's just one or two cases. I mean, if you look at the internet itself, there are some 50, 60 students who have talked about it. But he's saying it's one or two cases. And he pointed us to the fact that in Telangana, the same company had done the 2019 intermediate exams, which also resulted in a fiasco because out of 9.7 lakh students, I think 3.7 lakh students did not pass the exam. And some 20 students died by suicide then. But he says that the Supreme Court at that time found the margin of error was only 0.16%, and therefore the company cannot be held liable. So I think he is saying that even this time the margin of error will be very less. We are just seeing so much of noise on social media, but it's actually not true. Whatever it is, I think the whole attitude of the CBSE has been completely wrong. They've just denied. There's an ethical hacker, the 19-year-old boy, who has said that he could see there are problems with the site. Everything just denial. I also want to ask the CBSE, you pushed this tender in November 2025. Your site has no information about who the tender went to, which is why we have to sit and figure out whether it is Coemt which got the tender.
Or was it
that should not
TCS?
have been a difficult job at all.
Let's move on to the other headline from Telangana. Top Maoist couple with 45 lakh rupees bounty surrender in Telangana. This has happened just a couple of days ago. Senior CPI Maoist Central Committee member and Bihar Jharkhand Special Area Committee Secretary Pasunuri Narahari, who's also called Vishwanath, and his wife Medara Danama, who's also called Lata, have both surrendered before the Telangana DGP. Who's CV Anand. This happened on Tuesday. Let's move to Andhra. TDP should reserve 33% seats for women in 2029 general elections, says Nara Lokesh. This is a proposal that he's giving. His announcement comes a month after the Constitution Amendment Bill failed to pass in Lok Sabha. Opposition parties had criticized the BJP-led union government for linking the women's reservation to delimitation.
So Nara Lokesh is the working president. It's basically process, but Nara Lokesh will propose, and the national president, who's Nadu, his father, will accept the proposal. It's very good on part of the TDP to say that they will give 33% of seats to women. Of course, let's not forget that 2029, there's also assembly elections in Andhra Pradesh, but that they've not promised. They've only promised for the Lok Sabha. But whatever it is, other than the TMC, there's no other party which does it.
Congress tried in Uttar Pradesh under Priyanka Gandhi when they knew that their chances were slim, and I'm being generous. But in any other state where they have a real chance, they'll just look at prudence. Andhra is sizzling. Telugu states, both Andhra and Telangana, sizzle mercury soars to 48.1 degrees Celsius in Andhra's Pidugurala. I hope I got that right. As many as 19 districts in Telangana recorded the highest temperature of 46 degrees and above, while the maximum temperature in 18 districts of Andhra exceeded 45 degrees Celsius. In the light of the heat sensitivity rising to record levels in both states, authorities urged the public to remain vigilant. I have no idea what that even means.
And I just want to add here, if something very irritating was that there are people dying. There are people whose jobs are under threat. People who are not able to walk on roads. And what India needs now is a policy. You have to look at heat as a problem, as a policy that will deal with it. But the Prime Minister of India tweets, everyone hydrate yourself.
He's basically an Instagram influencer, nothing more.
Hydrate yourself. Yeah.
I just drank water. Let's move to Kerala. ED raids at Pinarayi Vijayan's house over CMRL money laundering case. Now, I have to say, I saw the visuals of cadre, CPIM cadre attacking the ED officials, and I was very disappointed. Not surprised, but disappointed nonetheless. They picked up bricks and threw at them. How is that okay? Why are you making a face, Dhanya?
Because I thought you believed that sometimes violence is okay.
This is not the time. You know, you don't get to go after people who don't have much power. They are doing what they're asked to do. And how is it? Don't misquote me.
No.
I mean, people in our office can sometimes be beaten up. That's what
I want to add that Pooja has been attacked almost the same way. Her car in Kerala many years ago when she went to cover Sabarimala. So I think the modus operandi is the same.
Yeah, but I must say, I don't know what it is about me that makes people want to beat me up. I've been attacked in multiple states in India.
I can vouch why. I can explain why.
Including by Dhanya, but a lot of police in Andhra, Karnataka have beaten me when I'm out reporting.
But on a very serious note, I think the timing of this ED raid, just reeks of intimidation.
Yeah.
Because the ED case has been registered almost, the SFIO report itself came more than a year ago, but the ED coming right after elections and to everybody's houses. I was looking at the questionnaire. There is, of course, a reason why they went to Prithvi Datta house, because they are saying that money, that this Karta, who's the CMRL MD, has given money to a lot of politicians. But even then, the timing is really suspect, and that's the reason why the CPIM is obviously calling it vendetta.
Yeah, of course, I agree with that point. It can be taken up politically and legally, but attacking cars of ED officials is just not done. I don't think that should be accepted. 20-year ordeal ends for Kerala man on death row in Saudi Arabia. Abdul Rahim, in jail since December 2006 in connection with the death of a teenager under his care, arrived home on Thursday morning on an exit visa from Saudi Arabia. As he stepped out of Kozhikode airport, hundreds waited near his ancestral house to welcome him. They've paid blood money of how much?
35 crores. So
yeah.
public collected 35 crores blood money to make this man come back, and he landed today. And with him at the airport was our favorite businessman, Bobby Chemanur. For those who haven't read, we did an entire series on Bobby Chemanur's dubious businesses.
Yes. Let's move on to Karnataka, which seems to be the most newsy state at the moment. CM Siddaramaiah receives Karnataka state. I say CM Siddaramaiah, but by the time this is out, he no longer will be the CM.
Former
He'll be
CM.
the caretaker CM at the time. He receives Karnataka caste census report amid leadership change buzz. The submission comes at a politically sensitive moment, given Siddaramaiah's positioning as a key OBC leader in party's national push for caste enumeration.
So that's the discussion that we'll have today on Siddaramaiah's, legacy and leaving the baton to DKS. The second discussion will be on the Cockroach Party, where Manisha Pande will join us from Newslaundry and hopefully Sudipto Mondal from the News Minute. Manisha has done an interview of the Cockroach Party founder. It's behind a paywall on both News Minute and Newslaundry. Another reason why you should subscribe, yes.
But on this point of him receiving the report, he could have done this weeks ago. I think he thought it will insulate him from
But I think it was like a last
down.
step act of defiance, because it was DK Shivkumar and the others who did not want the report.
Of course.
So just before he leaves, he does it. Okay, so that's it for the headlines, and we move to the first topic of the day. So by this weekend, Karnataka will have a new chief minister, or at least by Monday, DK Shivkumar will take oath as a new chief minister. We are recording this at 1 p.m. on 28th May. In a matter of 2 hours, Siddaramaiah will step down as the chief minister. He's already met his cabinet. He's told them that that's it, my time as chief minister is over, DKS will take over, and that he will continue to be an MLA for the next 2 years. He also told them that we have to defeat the BJP in 2028, and he would be there for that fight. So it's not a mere transition from Siddaramaiah to DK Shivkumar. These are two very different leaders from two different backgrounds. I would say two different ideological moorings, and also even their concept of what development is or what governance is. DKS, of course, has much lesser time in his hands before he goes to the 2028 elections, and these 2 years will prove to be crucial for him and the Congress party. Now, joining us to discuss all this is Professor Prithvi Datta Chandra Shobhi. He's a political and social commentator. He's a professor at the Kriya University. He teaches history, and his research focuses on the social history of medieval South India, Kannada literature, and the politics of Karnataka. Thank you very much for joining us here on South Central.
Thank you. Good to be here.
First, I think we should touch upon Siddaramaiah's legacy a bit, right?
In this very vast profile you've written, which in Kannada I managed to get through about half of it. But what I was struck by, and I shared that opinion with you, you've made one point that as somebody who might still support Siddaramaiah politically, as a citizen, as a Democrat, we need to question him. We need to challenge his performance. Tell me, Professor, what do you make out of Siddaramaiah's tenure from 2013 to 18 and the marked shift in how he was as a chief minister in the time that he got this time around?
I think you need to look at the context in which both these tenures were situated. In the first term, it was more of the Bhagya strategy of welfare state. And in the second term, it's more of the guarantees. And this has something to do with how both the political economy of Karnataka has changed and the anxieties that the Karnataka society has been experiencing have, evolved, right? And it's in that broader context you have to see his performance. To be clear, Siddaramaiah has never been, the kind of politician who focused primarily on infrastructure development or on investment, economic investment or investment, whether it's from, especially of big capital, in developing Karnataka's economy. He has been lucky in one sense. Right from the mid-90s, when Karnataka started growing at an astonishingly fast pace, I think it's only Karnataka and Gujarat which have been the fastest GDP growth states that we have seen. And Karnataka has never had the kind of industrial policy that Gujarat had or Maharashtra or Tamil Nadu have had. There's been more of an organic growth in the new economy sectors primarily. And it's in this period that Siddaramaiah has been in charge of finance ministry, and in the last 13 years, primarily as chief minister for about 8 of those years. So his focus has always been on welfare programs and on fiscal discipline, right? If you, as the finance minister, you're not going to look at his investment policies, whether it's in the industrial area or infrastructure development. It's more with respect to fiscal discipline and welfare populism. Those are the two hallmarks of Siddaramaiah's tenure. And if there is a criticism of the last 3 years, it's been that the fiscal discipline which he had been known for the first 12, 13 years or 14 years of his tenure as a finance minister, including his chief ministership, that was slightly missing in this period. But otherwise, he's a very different kind of politician, and we need to recognize that when we compare him to other, his contemporary political leaders.
Yeah, I think two things we'll also have to separate and look at: the man himself and what he represents. So they kind of converge at some points, they don't converge at some other points, and I think that's where the friction has been. But if you look at how he got into politics, I mean, I've been to his village. Nobody could have imagined that he can get to this position without much support. I must say, even the mentors that he did have, which is perhaps Deve Gowda at some stage. I mean, Devraj Aras is not somebody he ever worked with. He does speak fondly of Ramakrishna Hegde. But in that sense, he's not somebody who had godfathers, somebody who actually pushed him. People who did mentor him also became his rivals, political enemies at some other stage in life. So apart from grit and luck, what else do you think propelled Siddaramaiah to the position that he is in today?
No, you said, luck is something his contemporaries talk about quite a bit. He has gotten opportunities. But I think one thing which is underestimated in him is his political skill. I think especially in the last 25 years, his contemporaries have, underestimated his political skill. A bureaucrat friend of mine, and this is something I wrote in my profile, a bureaucrat friend of mine characterized him as an overrated administrator and an underrated politician. He's actually one of the finest political practitioners that we have had. And here, since you spoke about the evolution of Siddaramaiah's political life, I want to make one distinction, which is you can look at his political life in two phases. The first phase is from 1983 to 2004. He had wonderful opportunities he got lucky when he was elected in 83, to be honest. He became a minister within, he was an MLA at the age of 33. Within a year, he became a minister. Within 5 or 6 years, he was made the Secretary General of Janta Dal. He had organizational positions and a recognition as an upcoming young leader. And what also marked his rise was the fact that in Old Mysore region, particularly in Mysore district, he had mentors who were not his competitors. In every other district, where young leaders of his age were coming up, they had contemporaries who were competitors to them. In Siddaramaiah's case, that was not true. So for the first 10, 12 years, he could grow without being stifled by leaders who were afraid of his growth, right? But in one sense, the lucky break came to him in 94 when he was made the finance minister. MP Prakash, who has a master's in economics from Bombay University, had very good training in economics, read political economy very seriously, was a student of literature, student of culture, all of that. He desperately wanted to be the finance minister. He has said that he's been on record saying that would have given him greater satisfaction, perhaps, than even becoming the chief minister of Karnataka. But he never got that opportunity because Siddaramaiah was always there once he became the finance minister to block his paths to finance ministry. And this big came courtesy Deve Gowda, who insisted that Siddaramaiah take up finance ministry. And there were a lot of skeptics who spoke disparagingly about his ability to manage finance ministry and cast aspersions on his caste origins and so on and so forth. And Siddaramaiah has spoken about this quite often. But what comes through, I think, particularly in the 90s after he became finance minister, is his control over bureaucrats. A lot of bureaucrats talk about this. He was very good in controlling them, in controlling the administration, and that became the hallmark. And one other thing I should say, because we were talking about the kind of political leader that he is. He's very unusual, I think, even in the context of Karnataka. If you look at how he addresses his opponents, his journalists, and everybody, he's again made this point very clear. He wants to operate more like a village elder. He sees this as his panchayat space where under a banyan tree, he's controlling all of these people. That's the way in which he responds to his opponents, his friends, his colleagues. And that persona is something that comes through in press conferences, in legislative assembly debates, in legislative council proceedings. And he's very disarming in that sense. He can address the leader of opposition as, "Hey, Ashoka, sumdiro, just be quiet for a second." There isn't any other political personality in Karnataka, or perhaps even in India, who can act in that fashion. And even those who sort of criticize him elsewhere, right, call him Siddaramullah Khan, his BJP opponents, or speak disparagingly about him, when they see him, they go and touch his feet and seek his blessings, right? I mean, that kind of elderly statesman status is something that he achieved in the last 20 years of his life. And that came because, and this is where the second phase becomes important, because he took a risk, right? The Ahinda movement that he led after 2005 came out of a political desperation. I suppose he needed to oppose Deve Gowda and carve out political space for himself, but he made that work. It was fortuitous to a certain extent, but he made it work. And I think there is a great deal of respect amongst the political class for the risk he took and the success he achieved afterwards, right? And what he did when he became chief minister is part of this, but this larger political persona is something which is part of his legacy. And we can also talk about how that impacted Congress politics and how that impacted Karnataka politics, especially the Ahinda move that he made.
Actually, I just want to point out that, the assembly sessions where you spoke of, where he would ask even the leader of opposition to sit down. And we've seen many funny moments in the assembly, very casual conversations. I think perhaps also stems from the fact that, everybody in JDS he's worked with them. He's probably known their fathers. And those who left Congress and JDS and went to BJP today are also people he sat down, shared a drink with. So he has a personal rapport.
So I think what you were saying about how he, treats it like a panchayat, as a journalist who's interviewed him multiple times, I can attest to so many experiences like that where suddenly he will be like throwing you out of he would have said yes to interview and then he's just pissed off with someone. He'll be like, "Okay, now go out. I'm not talking to you today." Another moment he'll say, "No, get into the car. I will just talk to you while I'm going on the car." I remember when we did the story about Chillume in 2023, just before the elections, the Congress had held a press meet with some 8 leaders about our story. And after the press meet, Siddaramaiah was like, "Sit here, we will talk to you." And he was so, and for a moment I was surprised that the last time I met him, he had yelled. So this time he was very sweet and he said, "Sit down, you guys are the stars today." And he was very sweet and he gave an interview that, remember we were there.
Yeah. No, but I think that's one thing.
I should also say one thing, sorry to interrupt. Again, one other unusual thing. He's never quoted English press. national press.
Not quoted
That has
any
never
press.
been a priority for him. I mean, he has friends in the vernacular press. He knows how to, intervene and get what he needs to be done. But unlike a Ramkrishna Hegde or an S.M. Krishna, who would his media advisors have been on record saying it was so difficult to get him to meet an editor who wants to come in, the Delhi bigwigs, right? And so that also shows uh, his interest and the constituency that he wanted to, cater to. Um, Maybe it's a similarity that he shares with Modi. He wants to directly connect with his constituents. But unlike Modi, I mean, he's also not someone who has been very active in social media. It's the old style politics, and this is where the sort of village elder persona. He's not a great orator, right? And even when he's speaking in a large gathering of 50,000 people, 100,000 people, he speaks in the same manner. So that's his relationship with press is again something which has been very interesting. And the way I make sense of it is his lack of national ambition of any kind, right? I mean, if Congress were to say they'll make him the president of Congress and replace Mr. Mallikarjun Kharge with him, he will say no. He'll remain an MLA. He's happy with it.
No, but I
In
think
2009,
I think that's the problem that the Congress is facing now. They want
How do you
Siddaramaiah to
face
become a national face. They want him to be their OBC face. They've even offered him the Rajya Sabha seat, but he has clearly said no. And I just want to add one thing. In 2013, when he comes to power, that was also riding on that whole anti-corruption movement against B.S. Yediyurappa. Remember that whole Padayatra
Yes,
he did and all
from
that?
Ballari to
Yeah.
Bangalore. Yeah.
So there, I think the unlike the 2023 elections where communalism had become also a huge issue, both these times Siddaramaiah just really latched on to whatever was the big topic then, corruption then and communalism later. But he never made any compromise. I think, I'm not saying never ever, but when he's in the opposition, some of the stands he takes are of course very strident, but he also takes a strident stance when he's a chief minister. For example, calling Banu Mushtaq. There has been so much criticism, or what his government did with Tipu Sultan, right? He could have gone back on any of these decisions, but he did not. But surprisingly, on many other things, he has been pretty slow this time, which we have pointed out several times, like the bills they said they will take back. Even the hijab rule, which came only recently. There are so many things which they said they would and they didn't.
So, Dhanya, on, for example, Tipu Sultan Jayanti, I was in fact in the room when Vatal Nagraj came and proposed to Siddaramaiah, gave a petition saying that I think we should not get confused with who he was. He was a Kannadiga, and he was one of the first people who pushed back the British rule, and that is his legacy. So Siddaramaiah, I think, had the kind of ideological clarity that many other politicians don't have, which is why he can stand his ground. Now, there are, like, Tipu Sultan's history is checkered, as we've seen time and again. He's a tyrant for some, he's also a freedom fighter for some others. But Siddaramaiah knew how to use that. It's just that the Congress party could not communicate that efficiently enough. And I think that is where the fact that he doesn't know how to handle the press, or he's disinterested. I don't remember a single time when he's tried to plant a story, and I don't even mean this as to his credit. It's almost a problem where he's incapable of manipulating the media. But also, I want to say that perhaps Yediyurappa is the only other politician I know in Karnataka who is that democratic. I have worked with channels which have criticized him unreasonably so. But he's never stopped that from interacting. In fact, in 2018, I remember I was with Republic at the time, and he had strict instructions to not speak to Republic. There were people from Delhi calling him live saying that do not give interviews. And there were at least 35 reporters. He picked me out from the crowd. He said, I will decide. He's very much his own man in that sense, and he has a personal equation with people. That also has been, wouldn't you say, Professor, that his administration has been that way, right? He takes his own decisions, he stands his ground because he knows what he wants to do.
No, I'll make one distinction, with respect to your comparison with Yediyurappa. I think Yediyurappa, especially his family, were interfering in ministerial, affairs. Siddaramaiah didn't do that. One of the reasons why he was, receiving so much support from his ministers, from MLAs, is because he wasn't trying to control everything that happens in their constituencies or in their ministries. He's perhaps more democratic than any of the other recent chief ministers, especially Edurappa and Devegowda family, whether it's Kumaraswamy or Mr. Devegowda himself, where there are constantly you hear stories about how they're trying to get files moved, payments made for projects, and so on and so forth. Siddaramaiah allows his ministers to function, or at least that's the impression that we get. But I think stepping back and looking at what he has been able to achieve, if you're thinking about his legacy, I think one expectation we would have had, particularly in the mid 2010s, 15, 16 onwards, after Congress lost its, at the national level, it started becoming more and more irrelevant, was in terms of Karnataka becoming a beacon for Congress party with what it would do if it is in power, right? I mean, is there a Karnataka model of governance? And in my columns in 2016-17 in Prajavani, I would write often about this, that this is the expectation that Congress also has about, rivaling a Gujarat model of development or a Bihar model of development. And again, this perhaps goes back to his indifference to national politics. It's only in the 23-24 budget that he gingerly started talking about a Karnataka model of governance and tried to connect it with the welfareism of Wadeyar, Mysore, and started speaking more about social justice. But this was an opportunity missed in both in substantive and in PR terms, in trying to develop something which could have become Congress's USP. But having said that, there's a different way in which we need to look at Siddaramaiah's influence over Congress party. And I don't know whether it happened by design. It will be a good conversation to have with them if there is an opportunity. What I'd like to know is whether, he has clearly impacted, Congress's agenda in the last 20 years, in the sense in 2005, 6, 7, if, in UPA 1, Congress's governance philosophy would have been to talk about, the politics of rights, right? What, right to employment, right to education, the kinds of entitlements which were redefined as fundamental rights. From that to what Rahul Gandhi has been talking about in the last 5 years, especially after the 2019 elections, caste census and identity politics, you have to see that as the influence of, in some ways, what has happened in Karnataka, both the Ahinda politics and the kinds of policies that Siddaramaiah government was advocating, right?
I could say it's also Kharge's influence, and like everybody says, Sitaram Yechury's also had a large influence on how Rahul Gandhi looked at politics. But Siddaramaiah too. I want to just touch upon...
Just before we go ahead, I had two small points of disagreement with you, Professor. One is his hold on bureaucrats, and second, keeping his family away. While I completely agree that was true of his first term. In fact, some of the harshest criticism of his second term has been that he's allowed his family, his youngest son, to run the ministry, and also affect transfers in many other ministries, because of which he's lost his touch with bureaucrats. He no longer has a personal relationship with them. And that is perhaps why good governance is not a term we use to describe this time around. Even on his Ahinda movement, earlier I mentioned about looking at him separately as a man and as what he stands for. While Ahinda is something that he's now come to become synonymous with, it's not something he himself built ground up. I think Devegowda created that platform for him, but to his credit, Siddaramaiah used that, in fact, even against Devegowda, to kind of separate him from the rest of the people in Congress after he joined. But I think the biggest problem for Congress today will be that while symbolism is something that he does have, he's never been an organizer, neither when he was a part of Janta Party or JDS or now. He will address the crowd in a way that they'll cheer him on in a very rustic manner that he's come to to be known for. But he's not somebody who will gather crowds, who will start a movement. And that is where Congress now will feel that, he needs to take charge.
What happens to Ahinda movement itself, do you think now? Because Siddaramaiah no matter how much Rahul Gandhi is able to convince him, he is going to sulk a bit and he is going to take a step back. There's no doubt about that. So what happens to Ahinda movement?
I mean, it needs to find new leaders. And Siddaramaiah himself, I completely agree with you. He's never been the kind of grassroots politician who will go from, village to village, hobli to hobli, organize meetings, bring or find resources to um get more activists and so on and so forth. That has never been his forte. Um, but and he has always had others who did that. But the other thing which you also notice in the last couple of years, which explains his performance, is he's clearly slowed down. Even in press conferences, you see him asking people to repeat questions and so on. He's sharp. He will respond in a way that he would have responded 7 8 years ago or 10 years ago, but he has slowed down, and I don't think he will be able to provide the kind of energy that party rebuilding will require, and he'll probably remain an elder statesman and perhaps do what Mr. Karge does, but at a local level. But going back to your Ahinda leadership, I mean, even his son spoke about Satish Jarkiholy as the natural successor in some ways, and it will remain interesting to see how this younger lot, I mean, they're not very young; they're in their perhaps in their late 50s or 60s, how they will take up this mantle and how they're able to organize and how they're able to build the party. I think one challenge that Congress is going to face is, unlike in BJP or perhaps in the older days in the Communist Party, it does not have activists who will devote their lifetime to build the party. If they're not going to benefit from that participation in political process.
I think now that we speak about Ahinda and everything about the future of the Congress, we have to finally touch upon the next chief minister, which is D.K. Shivkumar. I began this by saying that this is not a simple transition from one Congress leader to the other. In fact, some of the groups that we are in, from yesterday, people have been really complaining about how Bangalore will take the hit if D.K. Shivkumar becomes chief minister, because D.K. Shivkumar has a certain vision for Bangalore. And I'd actually met him in November and I asked him, why are you so insistent on this tunnel project? Because it doesn't augur well for anyone. He said, no, that is the legacy I will build before I will become the chief minister. He was very sure that he is going to become the chief minister. And he was also very sure that he is going to continue with the tunnel project. I mean, we don't know how much of opposition will come, but there is a sense of dread amongst a certain section that DKS is becoming the chief minister. But what happens to Congress itself? I think the Congress realized, like you said, since Siddaramaiah was also slowing down, plus the fact that there was a gentleman's agreement in 2023 that power would be handed over to DKS, they could not delay this any longer. And winning another election with Siddaramaiah seems to be a very distant possibility now. I don't know if DKS can do the same, but
so, no, I think a couple of things. One, you cannot win an election with D.K. Shivkumar alone. Despite the kind of, I'm not taking anything away from him, but he doesn't have the pan-Karnataka presence that Siddaramaiah does. Though he identifies himself as a South Karnataka leader, he can gather crowds in Badami or in Gulbarga, and he knows the state very well. When I say state, I mean grassroots level leaders. Who are the people who, in a particular constituency that you need to win an election? He's somebody people across Karnataka, candidates, called to just campaign for them. I don't know if D.K. Shivkumar is that kind of a personality. So far, his track record has not been that. He's somebody who can make arrangements. He has multiple resources that he can contribute.
But I think more than this, these are all skills, political skills that people can develop over. And I think over the last few years, DKS has changed. But I think the concern when DKS comes to power is who are the interests who will be backing him, right?
Because he's also a businessman. That's something Siddaramaiah, that's a burden he never carried.
Yeah,
like he was never a businessman.
Some people say, okay, the real estate lobby will become stronger if DKS is in power. Some people say the contractor lobby will become powerful. So there's a lot of concern.
Remember, he comes from a dominant caste. Vokkaligas will now feel extremely empowered. Now, there are two sides to it. One, it could be a good thing because, the split of Vokkaligas between JDS and Congress perhaps will now be less. More Vokkaligas will
For the Congress, you mean?
They'll come towards Congress because they see that one of them is in power. But in the long run, I don't know how great it is for the state to have somebody from the dominant caste in the chair of the chief
What are
minister.
your
Professor?
thoughts about DKS becoming chief minister?
So I think there are two things. I think, but after 23, his profile has grown bigger. We have to acknowledge that he is now simply no longer just an organizational man, someone who is simply capable of organizing. I think his profile has become that of a if not a mass leader of Yediyurappa, Devegowda, and Siddaramaiah stature, he can stand on his own and command respect again for what he has achieved. I think the challenge for him is to control his impulses. I think that's going to be critical. Can he control his impulses? Because they can lead him astray. There's whether he can share power, whether he can, carry along people, because that was Siddaramaiah's great strength. You spoke about the Vokaliga vote, and he'll perhaps be able to, in 28, repeat what Congress was able to do in southern Karnataka with the Vokaliga support. But will he be able to carry the backward classes in a way that, Siddaramaiah would have been able to bring them together? Will he empower the backward class leaders? That will become a significant challenge.
Siddaramaiah comes from the socialist movement. He was in fact part of the Socialist Party. To whatever extent he can, his politics till date still is socialist in nature, but he understands and recognizes that it requires certain compromises, which he's spoken about. But that said, I must add, many people have spoken about, even a few embassies have spoken about in meetings how when they're talking about bringing investment from their countries, Siddaramaiah would just check out. He would not even listen to them. Whereas DK Shiv Kumar would show a great deal of enthusiasm where he'd promise them everything except the sun, moon and stars. So that is, I think that's very symbolic of what both of them represent. My only concern is, so DK Shiv Kumar is a pure capitalist for himself and in his vision for the state. So far, he has shown restraint in how he's conducted himself personally. I must say, a lot of grace he's shown in how the respect that he's shown Siddaramaiah, and he's waited patiently for his turn. Will a dam break, and will he be a man in a hurry to just make everything happen without understanding what the repercussion of it for the state will be? That's my worry. You remember what he said? And I'm going to leave it at that. He'd said that Siddaramaiah and KJ George were foolish in listening to protesters and cancelling the steel bridge project, which had, it was opposed by activists and citizens alike a few years ago. If it was me, I wouldn't listen to them. I'd still go ahead.
I think he has made up his mind on the tunnel project.
And many other things.
I could figure out.
Yeah.
This whole concern that at the end of the day, Siddaramaiah did not have the weakness that he's a businessman is what we attribute to DK Shiv Kumar, that he is a business person.
And there's a conflict of interest there.
Yeah. Other than the conflict of interest, I feel that how DKS will behave will also be on how he thinks that is this just 2 terms that he's going to get, so I have to finish everything? Or is he going to think that this 2-year term is going to then extend me for the next 5 years, therefore I have to behave in a certain way which will endure me to a larger population and I have to come back to power? There's another chief minister who came to power. I'm not taking the name. So I had a doubt how this chief minister, this is not from Karnataka. So
I'm going to try and guess.
No, please don't. So I was thinking, the legacy that he has to carry forward is quite heavy. And I've never seen him take such strident positions. I was wondering, I asked one of his senior ministers, do you think that he is capable of being so strident? He said, doesn't matter. He wants to leave a legacy. So politicians also want to leave legacies. They want to be known for something, right? So you never know. A DK Shivkumar could all, become a socialist.
I hope he does. And actually, I disagree that I think he has the vision to take the party forward as well and also continue in the long run. My only concern is, if you're talking about legacy, I'm very disappointed with Siddaramaiah's legacy because the welfare schemes, the guarantee schemes are not his legacy. It is the high command and a few consultants. So, and the caste survey, which he accepted yesterday, he's received, not accepted, mind you. This could have been done many weeks ago. He was the first chief minister in independent India to order a caste survey in his first term.
Papa EMS Namboodiripad did.
Caste survey?
Yes.
In independent India?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I take that back. He's the second chief minister. But that said, he let other complications come in the way. He's not lived up to the promise of repealing many draconian laws that BJP brought in, communal ones, cow slaughter, the anti-conversion one. He's not even fulfilled something as basic as allowing protest in Bengaluru, something he in public admitted he will do. This was over 2 years ago. We all celebrated, saying that finally it will be a democratic space for protest, not, we won't have to just be in a Freedom Park where nobody is going to see the protest. He's not lived up to even that. So I think he's let family, bureaucrats, other political, combinations kind of take down, the larger
almost
things.
like he retired much before.
He retired much before, and for the sake of staying in power and being the longest serving chief minister, record that he now holds. He has many other records. He's presented the budget more number of times than anybody else in Karnataka. But at the end of the day, I think he forgot that his legacy will be not a great one.
And final words, Professor?
I just want to address that. In the last couple of years, especially after the 24 Lok Sabha elections, the chatter in Bangalore has been that he's essentially checked out. Right? He's biding his time. What is the purpose of wanting to be a chief minister? What is the purpose? What is the objective in wanting to remain in power? Some of his followers would talk about caste census, other unfinished aspects of his agenda, but even there, he wasn't pushing it in a way that somebody who was committed to that goal would have pushed for that. But I think if you look back at his career, right, what is striking is in the last 25 years, and this goes back to the point we've been discussing about businessman chief minister, businessman politicians. In the last 25 years, ever since mining and real estate money started ruling Karnataka's politics, and most of the people who have been in politics, even the ones who were politicians before in the 80s and 90s, started making money by doing real estate and mining. He's probably the only one who stayed away from it by and large. There are other ways in which he has allowed, or he had to rely on followers who would mobilize resources from the same sources. But, again, as we were discussing earlier, the way he took on the Reddy brothers, the Ballari, mining mafia in early in 2010-11, and the Padyatra that he did from Bangalore to Ballari, all of this added to his persona, to his image. But then the fact that he stayed away from business man politician sort of new model that had emerged, and a model that D.K. Shivakumar clearly subscribes to. This is unusual, and to have been the dominant political figure of the last 20 years is pretty impressive, and that in a sense will remain his unique achievement, apart from all the other governance related issues that one might point out.
Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us.
Pleasure.
Okay, so from the transition in one party to the next discussion about an altogether new political movement, which is called the Cockroach Janta Party. I was traveling when this Cockroach Janta Party thing happened. First, I thought it's a joke. Then 2 days later, I realized millions and millions are following. 2 days later, I again check. There's they're getting blocked on Instagram. They're getting blocked on other places. And I realized, my God, people have taken this very, very seriously.
Maybe it did start as a joke for all you know.
It apparently started as satire. That's what Abhijit Dipke, the founder of the Cockroach Janta Party, told Manisha Pande. Manisha, welcome to South Central.
Yay, happy to be here.
The only person who's interviewed him, or the first person to have interviewed him.
Yeah, and Manisha, I was watching that interview. He was telling you that I just started it as satire. I didn't think that it's going to become such a big thing, right?
Exactly, Dhanya. I really feel for this guy at this point because he did start this as a satire thing, right? Because all of us were incensed with what the CJI had said, irrespective of what he said later and clarified. But all of us were angry. So was Abhijit. And, he just started this thing like, what if we all are cockroaches? Hey, let's start a party. And then he just kind of, made a silly website with a little poster and then started an Instagram channel. And people really kind of started following him. it is staggering the numbers he's managed. Okay, 22 million people is more than BJP, it's more than Dhruv Rathi. Dhruv Rathi has taken 12, 14 years to be the influencer that he is today. Cockroach Janta Party gets it in a week. And I think that's something very important that's happening here, because Abhijit is not a known person. He's not an influencer that people started following. He's not an activist that people started following. People started following the idea of Cockroach Janta Party, that you insult us, we'll own this insult now. So I think it really represents how angry young people are right now, Gen Z generation from 18 to 27. In fact, Abhishek told me that most of his followers are between the ages of 17 to 28, 29. And I think it follows a perfect arc where there's immense anger around NEET. People are wondering what on earth has happened with this examination. You know, you have students yet again feeling this strong sense of despondency that, okay, again, we've put in all our work into this examination. We've put in all our, eggs in this one NEET basket, and it seems like it's just all gone to waste. So you have this anger, and I think Cockroach Janta Party just walks into that vacuum where there's anger, but there's no accountability from the government, and there's no reflection. Like, who's talking about young people today? And this is what I really want to discuss, Dhanya, with you and with Pooja also, that I feel this is a cultural moment right now, and we really have to notice it for what it is, which is that you have had a generation for the past decade, like people who grew up under the Modi government, children have gone, teenagers from 18 to 28 have grown up in this environment where there is no accountability and there is no sense of our voices will be heard. Like when we were growing up, not like politicians were shit. We were always angry against the system. We always felt like, those who rule us are terrible. But we had an outlet. We turned on the TV. Somebody was talking about the issues that we cared about. When December 16 gang rape happened, I remember I was a journalist just about a year into the profession. I went to the India Gate. I lit a candle. You switched on NDTV. You had an SMS campaign against Jessica Lal murder case. There was, whatever we felt, there was an outlet in mainstream media. There was an outlet in our cinema, in our culture, where what we felt was being represented, for us in a bigger screen, through culture and through news. For the last 10 years, you've clamped things down so hard. Every dissent is tukde tukde. Everyone's an anti-national. Young students have been called UAPA, slapped UAPA charges. Every time I travel to universities and colleges, I've lost count of the number of times students have said that we don't have any freedom in campuses anymore. We can't even protest for bad light or bad food in our mess because it's bad to protest. So I think this Cockroach Janta Party really represents this, it's coming together of two things. One, the system failing in terms of exam leaks, and the cultural repression that people have felt for the last 10 years. And this generation has now grown from 18 to 28. They've come of age in this last 12 years of intense, control over narrative. So I think it just really blew up because of that. And anyone, Dhanya, had you also started Cockroach Janta Party, you would have gotten 20 million followers by today. Anyone could have walked into it.
No, I would have started a cat Janta Party, not Cockroach
Cat
Janta Party.
Janta Party
I know
also.
it was for the CGI's comment, but still. No, I think, it's also kind of ironical, right? That the Tamil Nadu election results comes almost at the same time when this Cockroach Janta Party begins. Because I see a similarity there. Now, when we read the headlines now saying Chief Minister Vijay, I was actually telling Pooja, 1 year ago we were laughing, saying, why is he even starting a party?
He doesn't feel natural, right? Yeah.
And now he's a chief minister. And, a lot of people, I don't think even voted for him thinking that he's actually going to bring any change. But it is just that they have some frustration and they wanted to channel that frustration onto something, which is when Vijay's party becomes a convenient option for people to vote for, right? Not perhaps and exactly the same for this Cockroach Janta Party. Imagine so many people following it. And I'm wondering, if there is so much angst amongst young people, why hasn't any real political party been able to tap it?
So I think there is always a neutral, so-called neutral face or a platform. You remember the 2011 Anna Hazare movement? It was seen to be neutral. So people feel that this is apolitical. It comes without any baggage. So if you're upset with BJP, going to Congress has its own baggage. Congress did this 20 years ago, 40 years ago. Whereas AAP did not have that baggage. Vijay did not have that baggage. He said that I will change something completely. So I think that people like, and having this entire new system, right? Something that is anti-establishment. More than anti any party, I think it's anti-establishment.
But Manisha, tell me, why is Delhi so spooked, like calling this guy a national threat, taking down his
Blocking.
Instagram
You know,
post?
actually, people like in various political parties, even in the opposition, even among RSS, they're genuinely bamboozled by what has happened. They're confused, like, what happened here? And I think a lot of this they don't understand because they don't understand Instagram. They don't understand how reels can actually just get a crowd that, unimaginable crowds that even movies today aren't drawing. So I think one is that genuine confusion of what has happened. How did this number become so big? And second, now, Dhanya, this is a formula we've seen, right? We've seen it right from Shaheen Bagh. Anytime people come together, express dissent, the first response for the government is to say that there's some nefarious activity happening, that somebody, is behind it. And that's become their standard operating procedure, even though the IB, I don't think genuinely believes that this is a national security threat because it's not. And what Pooja was saying is true, that a lot of the people following this page are possibly not people who voted or believe in the BJP or the Congress or any party. They are students who've been told that, look, you work hard, keep your head down, study, stay out of politics, and the system will reward your effort. That's the myth that we've lived with, that no matter how bad things are in India, you put in your work, you work hard, you crack an exam, and you're going to get your reward. And that's what you need to focus on. Forget everything else. Forget the noise. That system is breaking today. That myth is dying. I was just thinking that for 50 years, we've told our young people, you just become an engineer and life is done. That's all you need to do. What is that? Where are they going to go today? With AI, of course, you have headlines like IIT Bombay, their placements dropping by 75%. But even for young people that we meet who've given everything to one examination, they see that it's not good enough. So I think a lot of it is, not everyone's looking for a political solution. A lot of them are just feeling very despondent about the fact that we believed it would work for us, but it's not. It's a mirage. And where are we going now, and who's talking about us now? So it's just a despondency with the dream that we've been, telling our youngsters. And I don't know how much of this is a problem in the southern states, but I have not gone to any state election in the last 5 years where students have not talked about exam leak. These are people, often, and I'll tell you one interesting stat on this Cockroach Janta Party. It has about 25% women. As media people, we know how little viewership women viewership we have. Mostly media channels would have in single digit. Newsman, I'm sure, has a better one. But 12 to 10% of your viewer is women. Traditionally, it is believed that women don't really get into news or politics.
2 points, I think
But before you go to 2 points, we have to welcome late Latif, Sudipto Mondal, to the studio.
Late Latif is Siddaramaiah for surrendering his seat so late. That's where I was. Okay, I was doing work. Unlike
Late
you, I was sitting in
Latif,
the
I'm
studio.
sure went to eat Eid biryani and has
I know,
now
I'm coming
told
from Vidhan Sauda and the governor's house.
Yeah.
What's happening in Vidhan
What's
Sabha?
happening in the
Sorry, not Vidhan Sauda, sorry. CM's house and governor's house. And lots of churning, crazy stuff. So,
So
yeah.
listen, Manisha thinks that we, even if we had started the Cockroach Janta Party, we should have done it. Did you feel like, when you saw the popularity, did you feel, Sudipto, I should have started a Cockroach Janta Party at least?
When I saw the popularity, I just felt sad for people who are seriously organizing on serious issues and not responding like soda pop to things. If this generation needs some soda pop kick in the butt to wake up, it's so sad. It's such a sad statement of progressive movements which are mobilizing among workers, among women, among all classes of people. And then you have these urban upstarts coming and saying some cockroach stuff. For me, it's a very tragic commentary on people's movements. That they are not able to mobilize, they are not able to capture this rage. The point over here is that we are not able to mobilize these people. There is anger against the regime, right? There are movements who have been around for 100 years, 50 years, 60 years, whatever. such a sad commentary on them. I mean, these movements also have become so co-opted today. They've become part of the institutions. They have become part of this whole framework where they identify with A opposition party or B opposition party. It's such a fragmented
No, in fact, I was also
civil
saying
society
in the
space.
beginning that Manisha was saying there's so much of Gen Z anger or Gen Z angst that if that Gen Z angst was there, why did the organized political party not tap it? Why were they not able to? And you are extending that to organized movements also, right?
Civil society
Let's remember this is a movement online just yet. So
Yeah.
don't compare it to I don't know if there was a protest, how many would actually turn up. I'm not dissing them. I'm just saying that we don't know. It's very new. It's easier to be online than to come and commit yourself to a longer movement. So I think it's that. Second thing also, I think they've taken up issues that are very close to these people. It could be exam, it could be media freedom. Like Manisha said, these people have grown up to watching media professionals making complete fools of themselves. That is, I think, another thing we cannot forget. I think the main cultural shift, Dhanya, is unlike when we were growing up, there was this thing where our opinions weren't necessarily sought on politics at home, perhaps, or on so-called bigger things, right? It was for our other generation to... Now, I think that has changed. And I think that comes from one, social media, where everybody has an opinion, to the fact that a 25, 30-year-old today is earning as much as his father, her father did after 40 years of putting in that kind of work, has somehow changed things. So people don't want to wait for their turn. They want things now, that instant culture. And these are all, I think, different cultural reflections of that.
And for me, the matter I mean, just the other day I had Anirban, Banajotsna and Shuddhabrata, the guys who put this book out for Umar Khalid. Political students who have now become intellectuals and things like that. And I was discussing this phenomenon. And one of the things that all of us collectively worried about was, what if we have another Balen Shah, a Zelensky? You know, in Bangladesh, again, what we have seen as the post-revolution thing is not a very pretty scenario. We are seeing this kind of revolutionary zeal, but like I said, I mean, it is not translating into anything progressive. It is unfortunately translating into power for people who are upstarts, who have no, like there are people who don't have answers to questions about the economy, like actor Vijay also.
No, same thing. We were
actor
discussing.
Vijay, same
Vijay.
thing. Yeah.
CM Vijay.
CM
Stop saying
Vijay,
actor
so
Vijay.
Joseph Vijay, whatever. See, now people ask me, what do you think about him? I said, now ask me what I think about the people of Tamil Nadu. What wonderful people. What a fantastic people. They've given a secular mandate, right? They have given, they could have, because they wanted change, they could have done anything. They could have done that entire thing of once, like how in Kerala it goes between Congress and CPM and they are caught within a binary. I am really impressed by the people of Tamil Nadu for having taken this leap of faith. What this shows is that the people are hungry. Now, is Vijay the answer to that thing?
We don't know.
I think I can guess.
Oh, ho, ho, ho.
Where did he study? What does he know about feminism, Marxism, Ambedkarism? I
Well,
really
like
want to
that,
know. Because I do believe that no matter how bad the DMK was, Stalin is raised in that culture which he cannot ignore. Right? Even his son Udayanidhi, right? He might be, far less educated than I suppose a Marxist comrade or something, of that sort. But these are people who are schooled in a certain kind of political education, and has Vijay gone through that education? We know the answer is no. In the last 2 years, if he's read 50 books, that does not make him an intellectual.
Manisha, I want to ask one thing. So this Cockroach Janta Party, like all of us agree that there's angst amongst Gen Z, which is perhaps allowing them to like something like this, share a few posts, right? That's how everybody's online and sharing their angst. But there's a small danger to this entire thing, right? Now, I've seen a lot of criticism that this guy was with Aam Aadmi Party, volunteer, etc. He's facing a lot of threats online, offline. In fact, in Manisha's interview, he was saying that a guy sent a video to him saying, I'm now near your house. Like his house in India.
Yeah, his address is out, his phone number is out, his parents have been put in a safe house. Luckily in Maharashtra, the government there and Prakash Ambedkar and all have come out and said that we're going to support his family and we'll make sure he's safe. So that way he's a little kind of relaxed with that. But it's been pretty intense.
My question is that, see, all this is happening, right? He's getting spooked at one point because of all the threats, the government being against him. And all these people just going and liking this Cockroach Janta Party. Now, let's say in 1 or 2 months, this thing just falls apart and doesn't do anything substantial or even puts across views that are substantial. There's a danger that tomorrow, if a real movement comes, people are going to be like, oh, this will be another Cockroach Janta Party. People are just going and liking something which they don't even know who's made it.
Yeah, I think that is the move.
Definitely.
You know, that is the strength and the weakness of this, because also this is also a generation that has come to accept likes and views as validation. So when you have 20 million people, it's not just his vision. So one, he walked into it without knowing what's happening. So it's happened to him now. Now he has to work backwards and think, okay, what can this be? And there are also a lot of cloud chasing that will happen, right? For a lot of people, it's just going to be the views that I can get out of this page. So, you know, there's going to be those internal frictions where does it become a platform of aggregating influencers? Does it become, what are the people that are following expect out of it? Do they just want to watch something fun, or do they want him to do something? But I feel like, look, I would not be as, cynical as Sudipto, because I feel two things. One, look, he started something as satire. He accepts it as satire. Now something has happened to you. It's like, something has fallen on you. You have to figure out what it is. And you have to give him that space to figure out what it is without being called an anti-national or whatever, which the government is doing. So anyway, it's very hard to navigate what's happened to you overnight. 20 million people, the kind of clout chasing that's happening, the kind of expectations that people have from within. Because remember, what he was telling me in the interview is that a lot of people are just pushing him every day. What are you doing? What are you doing? Let's do something. What are we doing? And he's like, okay, I have to wait and see what I'm going to do, because suppose he gives a call to action that, okay, all cockroaches, let's meet in Jantar Mantar and protest against NEET. One little act of vandalism can land people in UAPA if he was to do that. This thing of ground activism also, look what the government has done with anyone who's tried. Umar Khalid has been in jail simply because at Shaheen Bagh he gave a speech invoking Gandhi and saying that we must do something. So I think there are all these things that he has to navigate. The fear of UAPA, the suddenness of, like Arnab said, the suddenness of suddenly people looking up to you and saying, hey, do something for us. And his own, he had his own career path before that, right? He was studying in Boston. He was looking for a job. So you're having to grapple with so many things. And like Sudipto is right, he didn't plan it. He's not, he probably doesn't know what next. But I think you have to give him that space, give him 1 or 2 months and see where this goes. And he needs to figure that out now.
I think what
I wasn't
Sudipto
referring
is
to the
saying-
guy here.
No,
I
no,
didn't call
exactly.
him any names. I'm just talking about this phenomenon as a clownish phenomenon.
No, I understand. I don't think Sudipto is talking about the man himself.
I'm
It's
talking
about
the
the people who are following. He's more disappointed that why are those people not following anything structured.
But now here's where I'm optimistic, because I feel that after these 12 years of complete narrative control, you are now seeing on my Instagram at least, or on my, things that I'm seeing around me online, I'm seeing more criticism of Modi than ever before. It may not be happening on mainstream channels, but everyone's talking about what's pissing them off about this government, whether it's civic issues, it's paper leaks, it's just bad governance, it's ideology, it's why are we just doing Hindu-Muslim all the time. So something is opening up here. And there may be a lot of chaos before, like you said, something legitimate comes across and actually offers us a solution to this one-party rule that we've had for 12 years, which is, just focus on divisive politics and not really delivered much at the end of the day. So I feel, let there be chaos. Let people express themselves. Let there be, after this, the kind of repression we've seen in campuses where there's a UAPA on students, every student movement is tarnished as if it's some conspiracy. Let there be some sort of a letting off, I think a steam coming off where people say, hey, it's okay to say things. It's okay to make fun. It's okay to make jokes about, Modi or the government or whatever. Let's just express ourselves. And then I think from this chaos, something will come off. So I just see it as a positive thing that at least people are just expressing themselves, yeah. Imagine if you were to suddenly have 22 million people following you, yeah, and asking you like, hey, what are we doing? How are we bringing change in? I'd be like, I don't know, man. Give me like 5 minutes. I need to think.
You can bring 22 million together only when you have the most normative common consensus. If you look at the 5 points that these Cockroach Party people gave as their manifesto, they were the lowest hanging fruit on the tree, which it's like saying we should have water, we should have sadak, we should have roti, kapda, makan. That was of the 80s and 90s. On that broad consensus, you can get 20 million people. Now I want to know if they're anti-cow slaughter, if they're anti-NRC, CAA, if they're anti...
No, I
but
actually
no, but
wanted
I
to
think-
respond to what
I
he
think
said.
that's a bit too fast. Like Manisha saying, the guy never
No, it's not
intended
the guy.
for
I'm
it.
not saying,
not
but they
on
came
the
with a
guy.
5-point manifesto. They came up with a 5-point manifesto. I saw those 5 points. I said, this is something all my neighbors will agree to. I mean, my neighborhood, you have heard stories.
So
It's pretty-
No, I think this is that apolitical crowd, right? They call themselves apolitical, and I see Aam Aadmi Party, streaks in that. I remember we'd ask them, "What is your say, or what do you have to say about, Muslims' houses being demolished, calling them Rohingyas?" And they say, "Oh, we'll build schools. Oh, we'll give water." That is not an answer. So I think that is the danger. It's okay. They're not expected to answer this, but this apolitical generation, I strongly disagree, because you cannot just talk about your utilities and leave it at that and say that I don't want to get into communalism.
But I don't think so.
caste.
I think these people are taking a stand
I hope
against
so. I'm not
communism.
saying about
Just that, I suppose as now we're all elders, okay? So we're all elders. We're no longer...
Who's we?
Except Dhanya, we're all we're all in that middle-aged category, and these are we can all refer to these people as youngsters or children almost even. It is a reminder that hey, for the longest time we didn't know whether these people have a bone for outrage in their body. Right now we do know that they do, and in all our spheres of influence. Like for example, we have interns coming. Pooja, you go to you take it as a mission to go to campuses and talk to students. Dhanya, you do this a lot as well. It is encouragement. I suppose we can take encouragement from this fact that there is some amount of anger that needs to be cultivated, shaped. We keep working on this. I suppose that's one of the openings for us here.
But my only hope is, yes, I'm happy there's anger, though it sounds very destructive to say. But I hope the anger is not limited to things that inconvenience your life and extends to people who are much less privileged than you have been. That's my limited point.
Manisha?
So one, I don't have any political party expectations from this party. I think that work political parties have to do. They are the guys who know how to organize. They are the guys who actually are an alternative. But this is a pressure group. I am looking at it, can it be a pressure group when everyone's telling us how amazing we are? Look, Italy loves us. Look, our Prime Minister has made us #1. Our passport is great. Can this pressure group come and say, hey, no, you failed here? So I'm looking at like, can they be a successful pressure group in the next months or years? Secondly, too much cynicism about Gen Z. I'm a huge Gen Z supporter and believer, because I'm also look at what these people have gone through over the last 12 years. I was just talking about movies. Like when we say that, oh, we were like this or our generation, we grew up in a very different India. We had movies that told us to be angry. Like I said, like we had movies where politicians were always the dirty fellows. We never had, no one, today even parents tell their children, hey, don't say anything about this politician, it's not good. Our parents never told us that. The newsrooms that we joined in the beginning, at least before, like when I joined in 2009, no editor of mine came and told me that, don't say this or that about Manmohan. Like I said, like if we were angry about something, we saw it reflect in pop culture, in society. We were, I think 2000s were a time where we were coming into our own and figuring out, how we want to express ourselves. So I feel, given the intense kind of repression that Gen Z has grown up in the last 10 years, I feel they're doing well. Like, and I think it's...
I don't know. I don't have such a romantic view of the past. I grew up in post-Babri, what is that place? Gujarat?
Godhra.
Post-Godhra. I want to forget these.
Godhra?
No, because I want to forget these things. These are terms I don't even use.
He was growing.
I just don't remember those things because these are the things that shaped our childhood, the Babri thing, and youth, Godhra. And I came into journalism definitely as a part of that phenomenon of people saying this cannot pass. So this beautiful India, when it existed, is really in patches. There were these patches of time. I agree with Manisha to a certain extent that there were these pockets in time when it felt like, oh, mile sur hamara tumhara and all of that.
No. I'm not saying that at all. So it was always bad, but there were also slogans like Mile Mulayam Kashi Ram, Hawa mein ud gaya Jai Shri Ram. Today any politician can say Hawa mein ud gaya Jai Shri Ram. पीछे पड़ जाएंगे उसके यूएपी हो जाएगा
पहले राम फिर बम
हाँ नहीं we had a Babri Masjid but we had a Lalu front and center saying we don't want this
whole Cockroach Janta Party also came just a week before the CBSE fiasco. So I think
a week
that,
after the
so
NEET
most
fiasco.
students were talking about CBSE and NEET.
So I think that is added to the anger.
And just a quick point, just to clarify, like, I don't think things were rosy ever. But our news, our culture, our movies reflected that things aren't rosy. Today, a young person, they go to cinema and what Dhurandhar? That Modi ji did a great demonetization. Where is your cultural expression? That is what I'm getting at. So it's normal then for Gen Z to do Insta reels, to go after a Cockroach Janta Party. Anyone who gives them a taste of dissent is like you're starving for it today.
I am neither extremely optimistic nor am I very pessimistic about this moment, because I think it's too early. One, we need to wait and see what they want to turn themselves into. Number one, to your point of how people. So let's differentiate between awareness and mobilizing, right? I don't know if you can have these many committed people to one cause. The 10,000, 15,000 that you're talking about are committed. They're going to turn up day after day. They will get beaten up if they have to, lathi charged, right? This is floating crowd. So we need to see how many of them stick around. And I'm happy that they've come together for whatever reason they've come together. What we can use this as is a platform for awareness. Mobilization is, I think, still many steps ahead. Create awareness on multiple issues, not just things that affect their lives. And then you can see how they pass it on to the next generation. That's my 2 cents on this.
So that way I'm a cockroach too.
All of
Because
us
I
are
believe in,
cockroaches. Also because you can't, the saying, right? Dinosaurs died, cockroaches never will. So we'll continue being here. We're very scrunchy like that.
Okay, so thank you for that, everybody. We'll go to the recommendations. Yeah.
Just want to add one last point in all of this. The most ironic thing is this Chief Justice, Honorable dear Surya Kant Sarji, in the zeal to, side with the BJP, I don't know if that's contempt of court, but in his zeal to be of use, he has accidentally spurred the biggest anti-BJP movement we've ever seen on the internet. On the internet, a meme page, whatever you call it. But the mobilization after what he said is just, I think this is a huge lesson for judges. Please, when you're sitting and telling us or adjudicating on a case, this random gyan-bazi that you go into commenting on, who's a cockroach, who's not, who's a termite. Please, people don't want that.
No, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people did not even know about his cockroach comment. They would have just come and joined this because they want to dissent in some way, right? Then later discovered the comment. Anyway, I will go to the recommendations now. Pooja, what is the recommendation? Quickly.
After Shivram Karant last week, I have something very easy this week. I'm watching something called Person of Interest on Netflix. Very fast-paced, fun kind of a series. So, yeah.
Please read our pieces on Siddaramaiah. We have some very good analytical pieces on the career trajectory of Siddaramaiah. It's been a glorious time. It's been also an inglorious time. It has been a political career with a lot of highs and some very unexpected lows. Some very, very big disappointments. That is what there is some nostalgia, I'm sure, among a lot of people who saw these dreams of the comeback of a Devraj Aras. A lot of people hoped that would happen in the case of Siddaramaiah. He let us down. So, yeah, I mean, who was this person? What did he do? Where did he go wrong? There's a lot of material on that in the News Minute. Pooja has an excellent piece on that. Please check that out. I hope you put that, what do you call that?
The links.
Links on the screen right now.
Wow, Sudipto, you forgot what a link is.
Yeah, just like Siddaramaiah. That's how he would also probably describe it.
But Pooja, your thoughts, please. While we're today's that day.
Conversation
yes.
on this.
No, but did a conversation?
Yes.
I think the book that comes to mind is Jonathan Haidt's, Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation, which is something that in my professional life I've had to deal with quite a bit, working with youngsters, undergraduate students who are trying to come to terms with an uncertain future, a future that our bureaucrats and politicians don't seem to be too concerned about. So this is a fantastic book, and Haidt is a psychologist who has written extensively on all kinds of things, but this book is something that I would recommend very strongly.
Manisha, your recommendation?
So I saw this really fun movie on Netflix, Ladies First. I think, Dhanya, you should watch it.
Yeah, it's quite nice, yeah.
It's really fun. It's basically imagining a world where women are what men are, basically. So it's a fun movie. Catch that.
Okay, so my first recommendation is, of course, watch Manisha's interview with the Cockroach Party founder. It is behind a paywall. but
Another reason to become a subscriber.
he himself says, I'm a supporter of Newslaundry. People become subscribers. So cockroaches, we're also like doing
Different form
way.
of cockroach we are.
Yeah, exactly. So watch Manisha's interview. Sudipto's show is finally back, Watcherism, and the second episode is really brilliant. It's an interview with a Bangalore activist, so do watch that. And my other recommendation for the week is a book I read now. It's Elena Ferrante's My Brilliant Friend. 4 parts, just the first part. I saw another friend of mine recommending this, so I thought, okay, a book I haven't read. It's very nice, about female friendships. Okay, so we are done with the recommendations. Thank you very much, Manisha. I know it's a busy day because you had Newsins recording, but still you agreed to come for the sake of cockroaches.
Amazing. Always lovely to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Manisha.
Thank you.
Thank you, Manisha. Thank you, Sudipto.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja. Our producer, Jasim Ali and Megha Mugundan. Production assistant, Ajay, Ria and Sukanya Shaji, who do our socials. Keep listening, become a subscriber, or, as I said, you can contribute to the South Central Fund. Thank you very much.